So, we got some pretty major news yesterday about Nintendo's next new console. We've been hearing rumors about a Switch 2 or whatever you want to call it for a while, but it finally seems like next year we will actually be getting it. Major news outlets have been reporting this, with the site Video Game Chronicle breaking the news. We've actually been hearing for a few weeks now that development kits for this new system were being sent out to Nintendo's partners, so this backs that up even further. Not to mention the fact that sources from Nikkei Asia back in May mentioned that development on this new console was going well. The original article from VGC has some really interesting insider information about what this new console will have. So I'm going to take a look at how this would affect Animal Crossing on this new system. Especially since it's very likely we could start to hear about a new game once a new console is actually released, as Nintendo has liked to do one major Animal Crossing game per system. For a start, sources indicate that the new console will have a portable mode just like the Switch does, which honestly immediately made me breathe a sigh of relief, and I'm sure you will feel the same way. Being able to play New Horizons in portable mode was really great, and I think it added a huge appeal to the game honestly. In the past, Animal Crossing games have either been on your TV or in handheld mode, so the Switch allowing you to do both worked perfectly for the franchise, as the community has always been split on which way playing is better. Not to mention the fact that they sold a ton of Switch Lites handheld only devices because of New Horizons, so having this option is really great news honestly. It's also been mentioned by multiple sources that the new console will have an LCD screen rather than the fancier OLED screens, which is a little bit disappointing, but from an Animal Crossing point of view, I'm not sure this really affects us that much. The game does look really good on a Switch OLED, but it also looks great on the regular Switch too, so I'm not that bothered about this. Now, something incredibly interesting and important for the future of New Horizons is the fact that this new console will support cartridges. Whilst the article does mention that details on backwards compatibility with this new console remain unclear, I think this information bodes really well for this console having the ability to play Switch games. This of course means we would still be able to play New Horizons on this new console and bring our islands with us, which would honestly be so great, especially to help kill some time whilst we waited for a new game. I think given Nintendo is still planning to support Switch games way into 2024, it's hard to imagine they wouldn't allow us to play these on the new console also, especially as it would play cartridge games anyways, so why not? Another thing that bodes really well for a new Animal Crossing release on this console is the fact that Animal Crossing would fit really well as a launch title. If you think about it, there's not many major Nintendo IPs they could really have as a launch title on this new system if it releases next year. There's not enough time to develop a new Zelda game, Splatoon 3 launched just last year, so 4 is not happening anytime soon, Pikmin just released, Mario Kart is seeming fairly unlikely as they'll just be finishing off with the DLC, and a new Smash game will probably take a lot longer too. That really only leaves a few games they could launch this new system with, and sources are saying that Nintendo would want a pretty big lineup this time compared to the Switch. I think maybe we could finally see Metroid 4 as a launch title for this new console, and perhaps a new 3D Mario game as well, since that's been a while, but also Animal Crossing would work perfectly. If the next console launched with a new Animal Crossing game in the second half of 2024, that would have been over 4 years since New Horizons launched, which is a pretty good time frame. When we discuss when a new Animal Crossing game will release, people always tend to point out the long gap between New Leaf and New Horizons, which was about 8 years, but this wasn't the standard time for Animal Crossing releases. It was usually more like 4 to 5 years. That long gap was most likely that long because of the failure of the Wii U, so if the Wii U had done really well, we probably would have gotten New Horizons a fair bit earlier. Not to mention that Nintendo won't need to develop a new Animal Crossing game from scratch this time like they did with New Horizons, as they'll likely just be using this game as a base for the next. Regardless of whether they used Animal Crossing as a launch title, which I do think would make a lot of sense financially as New Horizons sold so many copies of the Switch, when a new console does release, we can finally start to get excited about the prospect of an Animal Crossing game releasing as it becomes a lot more realistic. I also know that a lot of people aren't too enthused about a new Nintendo console, they're perfectly happy with the Switch and they don't want to upgrade, but unfortunately Nintendo is a business and the Switch sales are dropping more and more. In fact, they're projected to drop by double digits in 2024, so there's no way that they will not release a new console at this point. I'm suddenly happy though to try out a new console, especially if it does mean a new Animal Crossing game could be on the horizon. I'd love to see that. Let me know your thoughts though about this down in the comments section below. Will you be buying a new console Nintendo releases, and would you like to see a new Animal Crossing game launch on it at release? If you made it to the end, be sure to comment Bob's Gang down below so I know you did. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like, and if you haven't already, consider subscribing and turning on notifications for more.